Good evening and welcome along to yet another edition of MesmePolitics. My name is Toby Lapati Mesme, and at this time, every single day, live right here on YouTube, I bring you the latest in UK and US politics, all the stories that matter to you from a leftist perspective. It's sort of our USP, it's what we do. You can get in touch anytime throughout in the chat. Please do come and say hello. That's why we do this live. It's so you can join in the discussion, and we always appreciate it when you do, of course. Prepare to die. Okay, what do we got on today's show? Well, we've got a busy agenda as always. Around the end of the show, I want to talk to you about the supposed inadequacy of Boris Johnson's post-Brexit measures regarding financial services. It's hardly an area the left should get particularly enthusiastic about. How should we think about this? Are we bothered that financial services might be a bit shafted because of Brexit? If we are bothered, why are we bothered, and in what capacity are we bothered, and what do we want to do about it? We'll be talking about all of that. It is generally a pretty thorny topic for the left, but we'll try and have an enlightened and balanced civil dialogue on it. In what is, as I say, a very contentious topic. I also want to talk about the principled case, which I'll be making for democratic control of the Senate, that the left should actively be advocating and campaigning for those Senate races to be won in Georgia, why that makes some modicum of a difference, how to look at this from a realist perspective as opposed to an idealistic perspective, and what it's all about. But first, at the top of the hour, at the beginning of the show, first story of the day is Priti Patel bringing back the death penalty. That's right. It's Sunday night, the 27th of December 2020, 7:02. And this went out on social media earlier today from Black and Asian Lawyers for Justice, saying, a little bird at the Home Office tells us Priti Patel has asked civil service to scope a policy paper on the restoration of the death penalty in 2021, and that the Tories have the majority to do just that if they so want. What's the hot take on this? I want your immediate take on that. Before we delve into anything further, what's your immediate guttural instinct take on that? Let me know. Priti Patel, long-term advocate of the death penalty, now might be trying to get her way in terms of UK policy. I don't think I've heard any credible left-wing cases for the death penalty, but hey, if you've got one, let me know. Get in touch in the chat. My immediate instinct to this is horrendous, obviously. Let's hear, this is Priti Patel being interviewed upon becoming Home Secretary, and then, we'll hear her denials about it. This was from September last year.
Let me ask you very quickly about one other thing. At a press conference this week, that you said you had never supported capital punishment. And yet, on Question Time in 2011, I've got the quote here, you said capital punishment is about having strong deterrence. Capital punishment would act as a deterrent. It's absolutely fine to change your mind on something, but let's be straight with us and honest with us about why you did.
So actually what I said on Monday is that I've never in my time as a Member of Parliament been an advocate of it. So that is fundamentally different.
But you're pro it.
I'm not pro it. I'm not pro it. And,
so
and
why,
the other
did you
issue
change,
is,
why did you change your
well,
mind?
I have over time. I've been very clear about this.
I'm asking about why.
I have consistently over time.
Not the timing, but why?
But on this particular issue, I've never in my time as a Member of Parliament been an advocate at all of that.
Right, so let's have a listen. That's her on Andrew Marr in September 2019. Now let's hear her on Question Time in September 2011.
I come to this debate from a totally different perspective. In the sense that, I have said this before and I'll say it again, that I do actually think when we have a criminal justice system that continuously fails in this country, and where we have seen murderers rapists and people who have committed the most abhorrent crimes in society go into prison and then are released from prison to go out into the community to then re-offend and do the type of crimes that they've committed again and again, I think that's appalling. And actually, on that basis alone, I would actually support the reintroduction of capital punishment to serve as a deterrent, because I do think we do not have enough deterrence in this country for criminals. And let's not forget, murderers and rapists and criminals of that nature choose to commit the crimes that they commit. So actually, what I said on Monday is that I've never in my time as a Member of Parliament been an advocate of it.
So there you go. She is pro-death penalty. She's been a passionate advocate of the death penalty. Someone says that's murderous. I'd be inclined to agree. Someone says, oh my God, can't believe it. Yeah, me too. Someone says, absolutely disgusted. Things go from bad to horrific. One sick puppy. I think that's paraphrasing from when Trump used to call, he was on the phone, he's like, Nancy Pelosi's a sick puppy or something ridiculous like that. It is quite funny, isn't it? Yeah, things very much going from bad to horrific here. Yeah, awful. Even more awful, if you like. We'll be delving into the polling in a minute. If you're scared, wait till you know what people in this country think about it. It is, as I say, wholly despicable. This is the state murdering people. People make mistakes. I'm hardly going to be in favour of this. I'm a prison abolitionist, but, at least you can get someone out of prison. You kill someone, they're dead. That's state-committed murder. And it costs far more, generally, over time to do the death penalty than it does to house in prison and provide for the needs of a murderer or a rapist or whatever crime it is. I think if you're a murderer, terrorist, rapist, I don't think you should be put to death. I think that's barbaric and outdated and reprehensible. However, I don't know if they will, but this could plausibly be a Tory initiative. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it'll come to nothing. But it could plausibly be something they do. Something the public wouldn't be an uproar about. It's something they could pass. If not in this parliament, in the next. Possibly in this parliament. The political reality of this is frighteningly near. It is authoritarian. It's not, of course Conservatives are often advocates of this, but it is not a conservative policy. This is wholly authoritarian. This is not, shrink the government but let it kill you. If there's ever been such a thing as government overreach, it's when it literally injects toxic chemicals into your body to put you to death. The views of the public are concerning on this. They are less pro-death penalty than they've ever been at this point, but they're still pretty pro-death penalty. This is from June. Conservative and Labour voters more likely to support death penalty than their MPs, study reveals. This was carried out by Ipsos Mori for the UK in a Changing Europe think tank. 15,000 people, pretty big sample. Not one Labour MP supports the death penalty. 11% of party members are in favour of it. And 31% of Labour voters. 2/3 of Conservative voters back the death penalty, compared to just 21% of its MPs. Looking at it, when you ask people, do you support the reintroduction of the death penalty, it's below 50%. However, the yes is higher than the no. The no is I think it was high 30s. The no was low 40s. No, sorry, the yes was low 40s. The no was low 30s, high 30s. But there is a majority to be found in the country, quite possibly, for reintroduction of the death penalty. And people didn't think Brexit would win. If this went to a referendum, say, I don't think it will. But if it did, you could plausibly see it finding a route to 50%. Very much so. Then again, maybe I don't have enough faith in people's sensibilities. Maybe conscience will win out. We'll see. But it's not looking good. Very concerning. But not surprising, the public take a very right-wing view on law and order, on immigration, on all those different issues, whereas they're progressive economically, socially. Well, they're liberal in many respects. They are quite hard line on all those different things. More hard line than you'd expect, the average member of the public to be, but they're pretty hard line on it. This could just be a play in the culture war. Leak this out, make the left look weak on law and order by just bickering about it amongst themselves and then never introducing it, but it sticks in people's minds that, oh God, the Labour Party's not keen on punishing rapists properly. Bam. That's, 2024 in the bag. Maybe it's that. Maybe we're falling into that right now. I'll tell you this much. Sir human rights lawyer Starmer had better, for his life, oppose this with every last breath. Like, if, QC Starmer, lefty human rights lawyer or whatever, he'd really better not go like, we support the government on taking strong steps. Like, can we just, seriously, just right now, I actually want to hear Keir Starmer just say no to this, please, for the love of God. Because in my nightmare scenario in my brain, I could just hear him go like, we won't oppose this, we'll abstain, because we support the government in installing harsh sentences. I can see it. I can see it. Very concerning. Very, very, very concerning. I doubt he will. I think he will oppose this. Again, that might not play well politically, but he better oppose it. I don't care what the political ramifications are. And he'll lose his base if he didn't oppose it anyway, so it doesn't matter if he gains or loses a few Tory voters. He'll be in the soup if he doesn't oppose this. One block here, if the parliamentary arithmetic works, which it doesn't look like it will, but if it does, the European Convention on Human Rights, which we're not strictly bound to, but the EU basically said they'll renege on the trade deal if we commit some sort of great transgression against it. This is an organisation that has, Hungary in it, and they're still in it after everything that they're doing, which is sort of ridiculous. We're hardly hungry yet, but that could, they're not very pro-death penalty at the ECHR. They'll probably make an exception, but maybe that's just me being foolish, hoping that our European overlords will rescue us, but maybe they will. Maybe they will, and that would be a good thing, and that would be, the European Convention on Human Rights, which is a good thing, always a good thing, doing a good thing, so good. I want to talk to you now about the principled case for a democratic-controlled Senate. Why the left should care, why they should have a horse in a race where it does really seem like it's two corporate parties. Why should we care that Democrats have control of the Senate? First, I want to give you an update from NBC News on how spending and other skullduggery is going in the Georgia Senate races.
Flipping on the TV to watch a holiday classic, watching gift wrapping tutorials on YouTube, even playing a game on your phone.
And by the way, I love puppies.
If you're in Georgia, it's impossible to ignore the barrage of political ads.
I know you're tired of the commercials, and I know you're tired of the mail pieces, and I know you're tired of the text messages, but every time you get one, I want you to remember there's someone in another state counting on you.
With 2 Senate seats up for grabs and control of the high chamber hanging in the balance, campaigns and outside groups are on track to spend more than $460 million on radio and TV ads, with one of those races expected to be the most expensive Senate race in history. But experts say ads are typically forgotten in about a week, so the return on investment may not be as big as you think.
The effects of television advertising having an advantage over your opponent, those effects are quite small.
Yet the ads...
Did you know Kelly Loeffler was ranked the most conservative senator in America?
...keep coming.
It's like an arms race. If you add a missile, I add a missile. So you show an ad and I show an ad to catch up. You definitely don't want to think, oh, just because the effects are small, I'm not going to do it. They're small, but these elections are being decided very narrowly.
In an election that could be decided by just a few thousand votes or less, it's important to reach everyone, and TV ads remain one of the best ways to do that.
There are lots of people out there for whom politics is a distant part of their day, and exposure to political advertising on television can have effects.
Every Georgian over the age of 35 has already seen more than 320 Senate runoff ads on TV. That's based on an NBC News analysis of data from ad tracking firm Ad Impact. With Facebook and Google now allowing political ads back on their platforms too, voters could soon see even more. But ads on social media can sometimes backfire.
Television mass advertising is exposing people by accident, and people seem to understand that. On these social media platforms, campaigns say we need to show this ad to these types of people. When campaigns get that targeting wrong, they think I'm a dog lover, but I'm really a horse lover, that I am irritated by that. And I blame the candidate or the campaign for not understanding me.
Right now, Democrats are spending more than their opponents on ads. However, when you factor in GOP super PACs and outside groups who are also buying ads, the Republicans are spending more. But just because one side spends more on ads doesn't necessarily mean they'll win.
There are lots of other factors in elections that are having bigger effects than the effects of advertising, and spending money can't overcome those things all the time.
9 of the 10 most expensive Senate races, including Georgia, happened in 2020. Of the 8 races that have been decided, in only 2 did the candidate who spent the most actually win. So in this season of giving, why not spend all that money on people? For example, hiring more field organizers instead of ads.
You need that television advertising and those mass media moments to help you frame the contest. You can go out and you can knock on doors and make phone calls and drop leaflets. You can't really do the mobilization part until you've successfully framed the election and convinced voters that they want to vote for you.
So, it's easy to tune out and feel demoralised. Who cares if Democrats control the Senate or not? The incoming Democratic administration is looking as disappointing as we always expected. And handing the reins of power further to Chuck Schumer and by extension Nancy Pelosi is hardly a move that locks in some sort of guarantee of progressive change. A Democrat-controlled Senate would at this point be so marginal that it could well surrender itself to toxic compromise and austerity politics, begging the question, what's the point? Why should we care? There is absolutely a principled case for advocating a Democratic win in the Georgia Senate races, and by extension, 2 years of a Democratic-controlled US Senate. The first case is as follows. This could well be the only opportunity in a long while where we could plausibly see a united government under Democratic control. And however low the bar is, this opens the door, a crack, to progress. Any form of progress, or some degree of rollbacks of GOP damage. Organising pressure will find a friendlier voice under a Democrat government as opposed to under a divided government. Things will either stay still or move slightly forward. Under a divided government, they'll stay still or slightly regress. The second case is different, but equally compelling. The wins in Georgia would be a middle finger to the Republican attack machine, especially the evidently racially motivated and increasingly hysterical attacks on Raphael Warnock. It would send a message that gutter politics is failing, and the Republican Party needs to rethink its confrontational style. This may sound like wishful thinking, sort of is, but we take our wins where we can get them. The left should absolutely be in favour of a Democrat-controlled Senate, just not deluded as to the results that such an outcome will bring. That's as best as I can succinctly summarise it, and I put that up on Medium earlier. If you want to get me on Medium, it's at Toby Joshua Politics, and it's especially the evidently hideously racially motivated sort of Red Scare tactics from Republicans. You know, it'd be good just to sort of give that political strategy a kick in the nuts, basically, wouldn't it? Just above over and above anything else. I think we can all get behind that. Moderate Democrats that refuse to cooperate with a progressive agenda need to be primaried as soon as possible, 2022. We need a left-wing version of the Tea Party, an insurgent populist wave, that eventually elected President Trump. We need to have that movement eventually elect a progressive president. It's the best shot at absolutely anything working, having a united government. It is lesser evil politics, but we do that alongside all our other organising and initiatives. So this is just one little faucet in a massive quiver of different left-wing initiatives we're pursuing. We don't need to divert any other energy onto this. We just work a little bit harder so we can fit in this on our schedule of things. Gridlock during the Biden administration, nothing gets done, promises are broken, could be the nail in the coffin for US politics and for the Democratic Party. Not to mention, there will be leverage. We'll be able to inflict leverage in a narrow Senate, in a narrow House. We'll be able to inflict leverage, as much as the moderates are, upon the Democratic leadership and further our policy priorities. We're getting to that point where we'll have a degree of leverage. We need that. It's very important. That's my thoughts. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, as always, in the chat. And thank you for joining us on MesmePolitics. Now, final story of the day. It's about Boris Johnson and financial services, which are two things I'm not keen to talk about, but here we go. Boris Johnson has conceded that the Brexit trade deal, quote, perhaps does not go far as we would like over access to EU markets for financial services, while insisting he had achieved an accord his critics said would be impossible. In an interview with the Sunday Telegraph, the Prime Minister said he had defied accusations of cakeism, seeking the impossible, in getting a trade deal that allowed divergence from EU standards. It had been, Johnson said, billed as out of the question that you could do free trade with the EU without being drawn into their regulatory or legislative orbit. While service industries, the bulk of UK exports to the EU, could face potential regulatory or non-tariff barriers, Johnson said there had been access for solicitors, barristers, and a good deal for digital. But, he said, the deal perhaps does not go as far as we would like. Let's hear what Rishi Sunak, Chancellor of the Exchequer, had to say about the deal.
For those who were anxious about the economic implications of leaving, they should be enormously reassured by the comprehensive nature of this free trade agreement, ensuring tariff-free, quota-free access for British businesses to the European market, ensuring that close economic partnership and, crucially, protecting British jobs. I think this deal represents one of the most comprehensive free trade agreements ever signed, and it's a good deal for British families, businesses and jobs. It gives us a fantastic platform to go forward, maintain tariff-free access to European markets, but also capitalise on new opportunities, whether that's signing new trade deals, and we've already signed, I think, 58, covering about £200 billion worth of trade, with more to come, or trying new things like free ports, for example, which will create jobs, drive investment and increase trade. So all of that is exciting to look forward to, but in the short term, our challenge remains for dealing with coronavirus, making sure that we've got economic support in place for British families and businesses as they go through what is a difficult winter period. It's obviously been a difficult year and it's been a difficult winter, but people should know that the government is continuing to work hard to protect British businesses and families through this difficult time. There is light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine, but I'm confident that if we all pitch in together, we will get through this as we have done through this year, and we can look forward to a brighter future, especially now with the deal with our European friends and partners concluded. That gives us a strong platform to look forward optimistically, put the divisions of the past behind us, embrace our future with confidence and optimism, and as we hopefully get through coronavirus and we can start rebuilding and create prosperity and opportunity for British families up and down the country.
Strong platform, perhaps more accurate than Rishi Sunak intended. He's just so smarmy, isn't he? A little bit, British families. It's that already, it's like I don't know, maybe I'm reading into the language too much, as I always do. I'm a words guy. But it does sound like, casually getting in your little words and catchphrases. You know, I'm about family, blah, 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 for that potential Tory leadership bid and potential premiership as Prime Minister. How do we think about this? Obviously, this was going to happen. Obviously, there was going to be friction here. If you want divergence, the EU was not going to let our financial services have, which shamefully are probably one of the only world-leading things we have, was not going to allow us to have that access if we want divergence in other areas. That was always going to be the deal. Anyone who thought otherwise was being ridiculous. The cake-and-eat-it delusion is dying off now. The deal has been signed. The ink's still wet, but the deal has been signed. Therefore, the unicorns have been slayed, and Johnson is having to reckon with the reality of Brexit and how he will deal with the real red herrings of Brexit, the real issues that Brexit will bring up in terms of our constitutional settlement, our non-existent constitutional settlement, and our future as a union. For fish, you know, that's come out in one way. For finance, it's come out in another. So right across the board, from fish to finance, the reality of this is setting in, and people are beginning to realise it's actually quite complicated, this Brexit business. Let's not fetishise our financial services. Let's remember that that's hardly something we want to build our economy up of. It's good. We have our own central bank, de facto central bank. It's good that we have an ability to quantitative ease and do all these different things that many countries that have joined the euro can't do. But in terms of just the city of London, you know, the haven of elitism and tax evasion being something we should be proud of, no. But we do need to remember the jobs, the million jobs in that sector. Those aren't all rich bankers. You know, the cream of the crop, sod off. But, you know, in general, there are people losing their jobs here. We've turned into a service economy, and that will cause a lot of hardship, that hit. That's something to mitigate, to think about, to want to deal with, because we're talking about the pain here. I'm not defending the financial sector. I'm defending the fact people have jobs there, you know, just working people that need help when they fall out of those jobs. Otherwise, it's going to be like the Thatcher with the mines, but Johnson with the bankers, basically, but not the bankers, the people working far below the bankers. The bankers can get stuffed. We need green industrial hubs across the country. The Tories aren't being ambitious enough, but they are heading in the right direction with talk of those investment banks. And they're being too ideological, of course, but we need to see huge, large-scale government intervention creating those industrial hubs across the country, creating the jobs of the future, so we can go back to being either an industrial economy or an innovation economy, as opposed to a state-powered, by the way. That's the only way we could be world-beating, as opposed to a financial sector economy that and a services economy that relies on pret-a-manger to supply its ailing coffers. This is a huge chance. That divergence we now have with the European Union is a huge chance to enact bold progressive change, and it is going to be squandered by the British Conservative Party as an opportunity to bang on about immigration, to scapegoat migrants, and to attempt to drift Britain further to the right. Although they have led up on the race to the bottom stuff a little bit, that race to the bottom stuff is a very real risk. What we're going to get from a Tory Brexit is basically all the pain, none of the gain. There's lots of gain you can have from Brexit. We're not really going to utilise much of that, although I hope they do, whereas the pain of Brexit, we're going to feel that. But where's the advantage? Where's the levelling up, powering of the economy? Well, under the Tories, it's basically slogans. Therefore, it's a bit of a horrible place to be, undeniably. It's where we are. That is about it from me today. That's pretty much everything we wanted to talk about. I want to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining us as you always do, and the audience is growing every day. So please get in touch in the chat throughout. Follow me on Twitter @TobyJoshuaUK, and I'd love it if you recommend this to a friend. Get a friend, to listening. Get a friend to tune in, because that's how we grow this. And then, who knows, maybe we'll extend the length of time the show is, or something like that. I don't know. There are no imminent plans of that, mind. We're keeping it as we are. But, you know, the way we expand and grow this whole enterprise is by people listening more. We're heading up to 7:30, and that has been MesmePolitics. I've been Toby Lepati Mesme, bringing you, as I always do, the latest in UK and US politics from a leftist perspective. We like to provide unique, innovative analysis from a perspective that, you know, many other outlets wouldn't give. It's not that hard to diverge from what other outlets do, considering other outlets tend to toe a pretty similar line. And we want to be part of a broad, vibrant media ecology that challenges the status quo from all number of perspectives. And we hope to add to that pluralism. Today we covered a lot. The death penalty thing is probably a story we'll be returning to, unless we never hear it from again, and it really was a red herring. Expect some fascinating developments as we head into the new year, as the Brexit deal is voted on, as we head into, you know, post-Brexit Britain. That is going to be a fascinating thing to watch. Undeniably fascinating. And, I mean, we'll see who's proven right in the end. We'll see how it all goes. It would be quite funny, wouldn't it, if just every Remainer prediction of, like, we leave and the day after World War III starts. Or just something like that. Like, we suddenly realise Britain's membership of the EU was the only thing gluing the world together. Ah! Is it FBPE people be like? That's what it is. Follow back pro-EU. See also as a proxy for I hate Jeremy Corbyn and voted Liberal Democrat in the Labour marginal seat. That's shorthand for that, basically. Okay, that is it from me. I'll see you at 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time tomorrow. Please subscribe, put notifications on so you're notified whenever we go live. And again, I'll just thank you for joining us.